Hi students, can you all hear me? Can you all hear me, people?
Yes.
Okay. So, how are you all children? How is your studies? How is your preparation going on? Is everything is going well? I'm good. Right. Okay. So, hope everything is going well. Right. So today, children, as you know that last week on Sunday, same time, we started the lesson biological process of human body, in human body, right? So then we got to know that we have some system to delve inside them and to study and master them completely. So that is a work that we are currently doing, right? So then, children, in the last class, we started the topic digestive system. Right, we started the topic digestive system. And children, if you don't have the tute, which is already sent to the group, if you don't have the tute, can you please drop a message to my number so that I can send you? Because without the tute, it is not possible to study this lesson. Okay, I want you to write each and everything. Once you learn from me, once you hear my explanation, you study them thoroughly, then you have to write it down. So that way of studying should be there in my class. So to do that, you should have your tune with you. If it's better if you have it as a printed one. In case if you couldn't get it, that is fine. Take it as you can use it as an e-tute, right? So anyways, I want you to be here with the tute, right? So if you don't know my number, this is my number. You can send a message so that in a while, once I completed my explanation to a point, then I will send you the tute. Right. So, in the digestive system, children, last class we studied probably around 60% of the part. Okay, 60% of the digestive system we completed last week. So, today we will be completing thoroughly. Inshallah, in the next week, we will be starting the topic respiratory system. As it is clear in the poster, we will be following up that plan. Right? So now, first of all, let's revise a bit because you know that biology means that is all about theories. There is no any sort of calculations or concept to understand. You have most of the time you have theories to study and make sure that you understand that completely. So that is the one that you have to do. So to do that, I want you to revise the lesson. So did you revise the lesson? The people who were there for the class last week, did you all revise the lesson before you come here today? Okay, good. Good job. A bit. Okay. Right. Okay. So let's revise it. Okay. So now, first of all, children, you have to know what is meant by digestion. Simple understanding. When you start a topic, you have to know the definition of what are you going to study. Right. So digestion means, children, where you are having some complex substances. What you eat is a complex substance. Those complex substances should be converted to simple substance. Once it is in the simplest form, that simplest form should be absorbed by the body. Absorbed by the body. So that explanation, that process you call as the digestive system, which works inside your body. Right? What is the understanding? You eat complex substances. Those complex substances should be converted to simpler substances. Once it is converted to simpler substances, it will be absorbed by the body to produce energy. Right? The cellular respiration part, where the end product should be converted to a sort of a glucose. Right? So that way it will produce energy. So here we don't study the breakdown only of a carbohydrates to produce the glucose. We study about protein and lipids as well. Right? So those complex substances, whatever you eat, it falls either one category of that, right? So those complex substances should be converted to simple substances in order to your body to accept them, absorb them into blood, and to do the further process. So that process where breaking down is known as digestion, right? We learned in the last class, not a new topic anymore, right? If it is new, which means you have to go through the lesson once again. If you can remember, okay, these are the ones that we studied already, then you are in a safer zone. If you can't remember and you were not there to the last class, I request you to join, I request you to study that first. Okay? Study and revise the lesson once again. Okay. So now children, as you know that we have to draw the diagram, right? In the last class, we drew the diagram and we label them as well, right? So let's do that same work today. Okay, let's do that, right? First, you start with your nasal cavity. Then from below to your nasal cavity, you will find your mouth. Okay? Below to the nasal cavity, you will find your mouth. These are the two jaws. Here you have your teeth. Okay? This is your jaw. And this is your head part. Right? So that is your head part. So I think this picture look a bit weird, but these are diagrams. You're not supposed to draw the diagram, but you have to know the parts of the diagram. That is important, right? So then now tell me children, now you have to know the structure. You have to tell me what are these structures about, okay? So tell me what is this? What is the technical term of technical term of mouth? What's the technical term of mouth? Very good. That is buccal cavity. So at all moment, you have to know that you are not going to write at any point using the term mouth. Okay, you have to use the term buccal cavity. Okay, so for the nose, you have to use it. For the mouth, you have to use. For the nose, you have to use it as your what? Nasal cavity. So that we will be studying in the respiratory system, right? Then children, there is a common track to the respiratory system as well as the digestive system. What is that track is called as? What do you call that track as? What is that track you call as? No. Esophagus is not the common. What's the common one? Pharynx. Where? Forgot? Okay. So the one which is in charge of the respiratory system is the larynx. Okay. Then you have to know that one part. Now here you study about the digestive system. No. So digestive system is about the food, whatever you chew. The mechanical process of digestion is done in the buccal cavity. Then the food bolus are passing through the esophagus. That is the one which is involving in your digestive system, right? So then when your food is going through the esophagus, what type of movement will take place? How do they transfer it from the mouth to the how do they take the food from the mouth to the stomach? What is that movement called as?
Peristaltic.
Very good. That's the peristalsis movement. So here what will be taking place? The peristalsis movement. So peristalsis movement means what? The alternative contraction and relaxation. Okay. Peristalsis movement is what? Alternative contraction and relaxation. Right? So that you call it as the peristalsis movement. So that we studied in the last class. Right? Then children, the food will enter through what part of your body? From the esophagus, the food will go through what part? Very good. To the stomach. Food will fall into the stomach, right? Then from the stomach, it will be going through where? the small intestine. Okay, I'm actually drawing you the pictures. I'm drawing through the path. So look at that and at least through that answer. Small intestine. Right? So then the food will be taken to where? To the large, intestine. Then rectum and through the anus. Rectum and the anus. It will be going through. Right? So this is how the work or the diagram that we study. This is what the diagram that we studied in the last class. So today we are going to do the function, or we are going to like detailedly study from the stomach how does the digestion work. The chemical digestion, how it works. Because the mechanical digestion, the mechanical process of the digestive system we studied in the last class, which happens in the buccal cavity. Can you remember? By the tongue, three functions are done: tasting the food, mixing the food with the saliva, and making food bolus, and the food is transferred to the esophagus through the peristalsis movement. Right? So all those are what? Mechanical digestion or the mechanical process of digestion. So here today in the class we are going to study the chemical digestion. Then moreover, in the last class children, we started the digestive process which will take place in the stomach. Right? So you know that when you consider the food, normally the complex substances are three. Right? The food, whatever you eat, it is being categorized into three. What are those? Carbohydrates, protein, lipids. So these three complex substances should be converted to simple substances. So that process of digestion, breaking down process will start in the stomach. Okay. Normally the mechanical digestion will start here, but what I mean is the chemical digestion. The breaking down into the carbohydrates, first it will be broken down into maltose, then it will be broken down into glucose. So that chemical digestion will be starting in the stomach. So that is a process that we study. So then children, can you remember we studied about a juice that is secreted by the stomach. What is that juice? What is that juice? Orange juice? No, no, no. What's the juice which is secreted in the stomach? We learned in the last class, children. Think below. Think and tell. Either go through, at least go through the tute and let me know. Very good. The gastric juice. Right? The gastric juice. So, today also we have to study about that. Right? So, in the last class we detailedly studied about the gastric juice as well. So, yeah. So, tell me, how many constituent was there in the gastric juice? How many constituent was there in the gastric juice? Children, yet today I did not start the lesson for the day. I'm just recalling what we revised, what we learned in the last class. So come on, tell me how many constituents were there in the gastric juice? 5. Okay, what are those 5? Hydrochloric acid, pepsin, renin, mucus, water. Right? So these are the constituent of what? Gastric juice, right? So the function of hydrochloric acid is to stop the salivary amylase and to stimulate pepsin. Pepsin will start the digestion of protein, which means breaking down the complex substance of protein. Protein should be converted to, first of all, it should be converted to what? The polypeptide. Polypeptide should be broken down into amino acid. Amino acid is the structural unit of protein. We studied in the grade 10 first lesson. Can you remember that? Yeah. Okay. So then lipids, here it does not start. Lipids digestion does not start in your stomach. So we are not going to talk about that. Right? So then mucus is essential for what? To lubricate the wall of stomach. Then water is essential to help in digestion. Right. So now children, for the understanding purpose, let me write the 3 complex substances what categorized as whatever you eat, right? So first you eat starch. Okay, that starch should be converted to what? First of all, it should be converted to maltose. Very good, right? So when it is converted to maltose, as the end product, that should be converted to glucose. Further breaking down will not take place because this is the simplest form, right? Then protein. Okay, protein, first of all, they break down into polypeptide, right? So those polypeptide will be converted to amino acid. Hopefully you are aware and you are fluent, like you are familiar to study these terms, right? Normally the amino acid, right? Then lipid. Lipids will break down directly to their simple structure, simplest form, fatty acids and glycerol. Right. So now children, whatever the food you eat bread, that is a starch. That should be at the end of your digestion, it should be converted to glucose. Right? You eat chicken, it is protein. So that should be converted to amino acid to absorb the nutrients from the protein. Then lipids, you eat oily food, whatever it is, that should be converted to fatty acids and glycerol to be absorbed by the body. Right. So now children, what you have to study is what are the, now you have to know that this will break down through a chemical digestion, a chemical process. Chemical means children, there is no any sort of acids, like there is no sort of laboratory work is done inside your stomach. But the thing is where there is a stimulation of enzymes, right? So what are enzymes? Hopefully you are not new to hear the word enzyme. So enzyme means children, this is a chemical reaction, right? This is a chemical reaction. When you take starch breaking down to maltose to glucose, that is a what? That is a chemical reaction. So to speed up that chemical reaction, there are certain substances which is involved in the reaction. So those substances which is involving into the reaction, you call it as the catalyst. Have you heard about the word catalyst? Right? So these catalysts, what will they do? These catalysts which is present inside your stomach, that you call as biocatalyst, right? One of the biocatalysts is enzyme. So which means enzyme is going to involve in these chemical reactions to speed up or accelerate the process, right? Therefore, starch breaking down into maltose is, the work will done faster, speeded up. So that way it is easy to do the digestion well. Digestion will be fast inside your body, right? So that is what you are going to study today, right? So in the stomach, we got to know that when salivary amylase was introduced, or a kind of where starch breaking down starts and protein also starts, right? Can you remember what is the enzyme? Through what juice, what constituent of the gastric juice starts the breaking down of protein? Renin. Okay, renin start that work. Renin is going to start the work, right? So it is already started inside your stomach. It is already started inside your stomach, right? So now as I told you children, when the food is inside the stomach, the digestion started. Okay, digestion started, right? Then what is going to happen? The food will pass through the small intestine. What is this? The small intestine. This is large intestine. Here you have the rectum and this is the anus. The process will end from the anus. Okay, right. So now where is the food is transferred to from the stomach through the esophagus? It enters through the stomach. Then from the stomach it is falling through the small intestine. Right. So now when it is inside the small intestine children, what is going to happen is in that particular part there are 3 juices secreted. How many juices secreted children? three juices are secreted in the small intestine. So normally the small intestine is divided into three parts, right? Small intestine is divided into three parts. So the upper part, here is the part, this is one, this is two, and this is the third part, right? So the first division of small intestine is known as duodenum. What is it? Duodenum, right? Then duodenum. Okay. Then the second division. Okay, the second division of the small intestine is known as the shall I write it on this side? Yes. Okay, I write it on this side itself. Okay, that you call as the jejunum. And the last part you call as the ileum, right? So you have to know these three parts of the small intestine. What are the three parts, children? Duodenum, jejunum, ileum. So these three parts together will form your small intestine. Okay, these three parts together will form your small intestine. Right. So now from the stomach, when the food is entering to the small intestine, first of all, it will reach the duodenum. Right? First of all, it will reach the duodenum. So actually in the duodenum only, children, the three juices are secreted. To be more specific, you can tell as a small intestine. But to be more specific, you can tell that three juices are secreted in the duodenum. You are specific. You are particularly telling from where exactly it is released. Okay. So let's study what are the three juices and what are their functions as well. Okay. So the three juices which are secreted, let me erase the rectum and the anus so that I can get some more space. Right? Okay. So the first juice which is secreted is the bile. Okay, what is it? Bile. Then the second one is the intestinal juice. Right. Then the third one is the pancreatic juice. Okay. And the third one is the pancreatic juice. Right. Once again, children, listen very carefully. This is a lesson which is important, ultimately important to your O level. So please study the lesson here itself. That is the best thing that you can do. Right? You are here for 2 hours and make sure that you are utilizing that 2 hours to the maximum. So that you have to revise the lesson. You are not going to sit and study the lesson once again. So make sure you do that process. Right? Okay. So what are the three juices secreted in the duodenum? Bile, intestinal juice, and the pancreatic juice. Right. So now let's go into detail to the bile. Okay, the juice secreted in the duodenum, which is bile. Let's study what are the components that you can find and what are their functions. Right. Okay. So the first one is the bile salts. Okay. So the first one is the bile salts. What will these component do in the bile is, children? Emulsification of lipid. Okay. Emulsification. Okay. Emulsification of lipid. So that means, children, where the breaking down of lipid is starting. Okay. Lipids will start to break down into fatty acids and glycerol. Which means, if I want to explain it in a simple term, the digestion of lipids are starting in the duodenum. By what? By what juice does that work happen? By the bile. Okay, by the bile. So they will start the emulsification of lipid, which means a complex lipid is converted to simple lipid form. A simple lipid form. Right? This is a complex and they are like scattered into small particles. So that is a digestion. A conversion takes place. Right? Then the second component is bicarbonate ions. Right. So now tell me, children, what type of food was it there inside the stomach? What type of food? Is it a gas? Like is it an acidic food? type of food, or is it a basic food, or it is a neutral food? What is the type? I need everyone to reply. That is where children you will learn. Okay? You know how the class works, right? So I want you to answer. Neutral? When the food is inside the stomach, is that neutral? Think, think, think. What is it? How gastric form inside your stomach? Very good. The food inside the stomach is acidic. That is why you call as chyme. The food inside the stomach is known as chyme, which is acid, right? So you have to know that if it is acid, in a way that should be children neutralized. Okay, that should be neutralized. How do you neutralize an acid? When you have an acid, when you add a base, that will be neutralized. So the same process is going to work here. So sodium bicarbonate is a base. So therefore, this is going to neutralize the, okay, it will be neutralize the chyme. Okay, it will neutralize the chyme. Chyme in the sense the acidic food present inside your stomach. Right? The acidic food which is present inside your stomach. Then the third component of bile. Okay, the third component of bile. Bile pigment. Okay, the bile pigment. Right. So this is the pigment where you find in the feces. Right? The undigested food which is released out through your anus is known as the feces, the stool. Okay. So the color of the stool is obtained by this bile pigment, which is a component in the bile. Okay, it gives the component to the feces, right? Then afterwards, children, afterwards, you can find water as the component. So as I always tell you, when you find water as a component, what do you have to understand? It is going to help in digestion. It is going to help in digestion. So that is what you have to study about the bile. Okay, one of the juice which is secreted in the duodenum. Okay, you can tell it as a small intestine, but to be more specific, you can use the word duodenum. Right? So once again, listen very carefully because you are going to study here and completely finish it off. Right? That is what I want you to do here. Okay? Not just staring at the screen and then leaving the class and you don't know anything when you leave the class. No, that's not going to work here. Right? You join a class. No, not even not only in my class that should work. Wherever you go in your higher studies or wherever it is. When you attend something, make sure that you study to the maximum that you can. Whatever the knowledge that you can gain from that and then leave. Okay, so that is the smart way of studying. Okay, study smart, not just hard. Okay, don't just think like, okay, I'm just going to sacrifice all my days and study. That is good, but you can even use some smart methods to study. So use that as well. Okay, right. So listen here, listen very carefully. Once the food enters through the esophagus, through the peristalsis movement, the food is sent to the stomach. So in the stomach, there is a kind of juice secreted which we call it as a gastric juice. They have 5 components and we have studied the functions as well. Then you have to know that the food inside the stomach is acidic, which we call as chyme. Right? Then children, the food will slowly pass through the where? Small intestine. So the small intestine is having 3 parts. Small intestine is having how many parts? 3 parts. What are the 3 parts? Duodenum, jejunum, ileodenum. Right? So the food will first enter to the duodenum. So remember children, in the duodenum as well, the digestion work will take place. Not only in the stomach. Don't think that digestion means it's only in the stomach. No. No. Until the large intestine, the digestion work will carry on. Or to be more specific, you can even tell that in the small intestine it will stop, but the water absorption, okay, the water absorption will take place in the large intestine. But the breaking down of these, the chemical process will be stopped in the small intestine. Right? So when the food is entered to the duodenum will secrete 3 types of juices. What are the 3 types of juices? Bile, intestinal juice, and the pancreatic juice. Now we started to discuss the bile, the first juice secreted by the duodenum. What is that? Bile. So then bile is having some components to be studied. They are having certain components like the gastric juice had, right? Bile salt will emulsificate the lipid, which means lipid is a complex substance. That lipid is digested to the small substances, right? So digestion of lipid starts where? In the duodenum, not in the stomach. Listen very carefully. Listen very carefully, right? In the stomach, digestion of starch and protein will start, okay? But lipid digestion starts in the duodenum. One important point to remember, because most of the time you think that okay, everything starts in the stomach. No, it's not. It's not. Why? Lipid digestion through the bile, only the emulsification, which means the conversion from larger components to smaller components of lipids, take place, right? Then you know that the stomach food, the food which is present inside the stomach, the food which is passing through the stomach is also acidic. So in order to neutralize that, we use the bicarbonate ion. So bile is going to contain the bicarbonate ion to neutralize the chyme, right? Then bile pigment is present, which is going to give the color to the feces. What is feces? The stool. The undigested food which is not absorbed by the body, the waste material which is released through your body is feces. So the color of the feces is given by the bile pigment. Then water is present to help in digestion, to make sure that it is like the medium which is carrying the food throughout the process. Is that clear? Is this clear to you? Any doubts? Everyone, let me know. If you have any doubts, we can clarify here. And most of the time, remember children, you have to send messages to the co-host. Don't send it to the host at any moment. I want everyone's confirmation. I want everyone to speak. Either you can mute, unmute, or you can send it in the chat. Anyways, but I want your interaction to be active. Okay, I want active interaction happening in the class. Everyone, let me know, children. Okay. How about the others? All clear? Okay. Okay. So which part do you want it, Fatima? Okay, a summary, right? Listen, for the last time I'm telling you, right? Okay, so you know that in the last class we studied the digestive system until the stomach, where the gastric juice is secreted, right? So we have to continue from there, no? Right? So then the food is supposed to enter through to your small intestine. So the small intestine is going to have three major parts as duodenum, jejunum, ileum. So first, the food will enter the duodenum. So in the duodenum, there are three juices secreted, which is bile, intestinal juice, and pancreatic juice. So we started to study in detail about the bile, right? So these dotted ones are the components or constituents of bile. Okay, bile is composed with these components. What are those? Bile salts, then bicarbonate, bile pigment, and water. So then these are their functions. What are their functions? First one, emulsification of lipid. Emulsification means what? The complex large lipids are converted to small lipids because lipid is considered to be what? A large or a complex substance. So that complex substance should be broken down. So which means the digestion of lipids starts in the duodenum. Right, digestion of lipids start in the duodenum. Then bicarbonate, you know that the food which is present inside the stomach is acidic. So in order to neutralize them, there should be a base added to it. But bicarbonate ion is a base. So therefore it will neutralize the chyme. Chyme means the acidic food which is present inside the stomach. Then bile pigment is the color given in the feces. Right, the stool. You find a color, that color is given by the bile pigment. Then finally water will help in digestion. Is that clear to you now? Is that clear to you? Okay, right. Then children, the next juice that we are supposed to study is what? The intestinal juice, right? Or let's study about the pancreatic juice. Then let's come to the intestinal juice, right? So the second one is the pancreatic juice, right? So children, the pancreatic juice is, we are going to study the chemical digestion. As I told you children, there are certain enzymes which is going to break down the complex substance into simple substance, right? So I told you about enzymes, right? So in order to convert starch to maltose, the digestion starts here. The conversion starts here. Starch, to convert it to the maltose, there is a specific kind of like a specific enzyme which is going to work here, which you call as the pancreatic amylase. What is it? Pancreatic amylase. Right? Amylase, you have already learned about amylase, right? We are in the grade 10 syllabus, the first lesson, amylase, to check the starch. Amylase, the enzyme. Hopefully you remember the grade 10 syllabus. Without that, it's not easy to study science, the grade level science, right? Okay. Then the next one is protein. Okay. So protein should be converted to what? It should be first of all converted to the polypeptide. Right. So in order to convert that to polypeptide children, an enzyme called trypsin is going to work here. What is the enzyme? Trypsin is going to work here. Right. Then afterwards, what is going to take place? Then the next component, which is lipid digestion will take place here. Okay. Lipids will be converted to fatty acids, glycerol. Okay, it will be converted to fatty acids and glycerol. So to convert the lipids component to the fatty acid components and glycerol components, we are going to use an enzyme called the lipase. Okay, what is the enzyme? Lipase. I know children, these terms are ultimately new to you, but can't help, you have to study them. Right? When you revise it, when you repeat it 3 to 4 times itself, that is enough to make you understand our. Right? So it totally depends on you. Studying biology is mostly dependent on you, where you are going to have a strong memory power. You should have a good memory power to study that and make sure that you remind yourself all the time. Right? So it depends on you, moreover. Okay? Right. So once again, listen. The next type of juice which is secreted by the duodenum is a pancreatic juice. Right? So children, the pancreatic juice is going to convert, or in other terms I can tell you as the chemical digestion will take place, right? So the chemical digestion means children where some sort of enzyme is involved to break down the process. right? So as I told you, the starch that you eat should be converted to the first stage called the maltose. Then only it will be converted to the glucose. At once it is not going to convert it to the glucose. Polysaccharide to disaccharide, disaccharides to monosaccharide. Okay, at once they can't do that process, right? Okay. Then to convert that, the enzyme which is going to work here is a pancreatic amylase. Okay, the enzyme which is going to work here is the pancreatic amylase. Then children, protein conversion to the polypeptide is going to take place by the trypsin. Okay, trypsin is the enzyme. Okay, then the third one, lipid digestion will be taken place by lipase enzyme. Is that clear? Everyone? Is that clear to you, children? Okay. Right. So this is the next part, right? So now then the third part that you have to study, the third juice that you have to study is what? That is about the intestinal juice, right? That is the intestinal juice. Now then you can understand, children, you can see that lipid is converted to fatty acid and glycerol, where they reach their end product. So the lipid digestion is completed in the small intestine. Okay, in the duodenum itself, it is completed. Right? So then children, further what we have to study is about the next juice secreted by the duodenum that you call as the intestinal juice. Right. So in the intestinal juice, children, as you know that there is only two components that to be converted to the simplest one. One is maltose. You know that through by the help of the pancreatic juice, starch was converted to maltose. No? Now the maltose should be converted to what? The glucose. Then afterwards, protein was converted to polypeptide by the renin enzyme. Now you have the polypeptide that should be converted to the amino acid. Right. So the conversion of maltose to glucose is using the enzyme maltase. Maltase. So maltase enzyme will convert the maltose to glucose. Right? Listen very carefully and understand. Then afterwards, polypeptide will be converted to amino acid. So the conversion of polypeptide to amino acid will be taken place by peptidase. Peptidase is the enzyme that is going to work in order to break down the polypeptide to amino acid. Polypeptide to amino acid. Addition to that, children, there are two other disaccharides to be converted to the simplest form. That is sucrose and lactose. Maltose was already present. Sucrose and lactose should be converted to the simplest form. What is that? Here sucrose is going to have sucrose will have the glucose plus glucose. Then afterwards you find the lactose. Lactose will have the galactose plus glucose. Galactose plus glucose, right? So now sucrose should be converted to which component, children? Glucose plus glucose. So these two are what? Disaccharides. These two are disaccharides, right? So sucrase is the enzyme which is going to convert the sucrose to glucose plus glucose component. What is the enzyme? Sucrase. Right? The same term you add ACE. Okay, ASE. This term is going to add it to it. Sucrose, the enzyme to convert sucrose is sucrase. So lactose, you're going to convert convert the lactose to galactose and glucose using the lactase. Okay, lactase is the enzyme which is going to convert the lactose and lactose to galactose and glucose, right? So this is the digestion will work in the intestinal juice. Now you can see that they have already reached to the end product. Okay, maltose is converted to the glucose, polypeptide is converted to amino acid, sucrose is converted to glucose and galactose, which are monosaccharides. Then lactose is converted to galactose and glucose. So all are what? The simple structures. Now the digestion, which means the conversion from the large components to the small components, is done. Okay, once they are done, these are simple components which should be absorbed back into the blood. Okay, to the body it should be absorbed. So that absorption form also will start in where? In the small intestine. So before we go to the absorption process, I want you to complete this entire part. Right, now take out your tube please and start doing the work. Let me share you. If you don't have the tube, let me know. Children, I prefer you to have the printed tubes, right? That is easy for you as well as for me. Okay, if you have made a mistake, you can just make the change in the book, in the tube itself. That is easy. Yeah, I will be sending you the completed tube, which means the answered one. I will be sending you. I sent you for the part 1. For the part 2 will be sent once this session is done. Right. So now start here, children. Start doing question number 11. Right. Start doing question number 11, 12, 13. And yeah, go until 13. Do these 3 questions, please. I want you to write it on your own. So already you have written the components here, right? The complex components conversion. So with that understanding, complete the part, right? So for a minute, I'll turn off the camera, children. If you have any doubts, you can ask me. Yes, Safia, it is small intestine. Okay. Okay, children, did you complete the work? Can we move to the next? Or do you all need more time to write? Okay. So check your answers, please. So the three juices are bile, and the third one is right. Then the constituent and their functions, right? So first start with the bile. So bile, we are going to have components as sauce. Function of that is the emulsification of lipids. So on the side, you can mention what is meant by this emulsification. Okay. Then you have the bicarbonate ion. Then afterwards, you have the blue pigment. Finally, what? Okay. Then the next one is the pancreatic juice. Okay. For the pancreatic juice and everything, I'll write it on the board since mentioning on the screen is not easy. So that I'll write it on the board. Okay. So I'll start showing. So breaking down the starch to maltose. So you tell me, children, what is the uh, enzyme is going to break down the starch to maltose? I want your answers, please. Pancreatic amylase. No, Zainab, check. pancreatic amylase. Good. Then protein, that is by trypsin. Then finally lipids. Here, right? Then the third, intestinal juice. Now here starts from maltose. Maltase is the enzyme, so therefore it will finally break down into glucose. Then polypeptide, that is peptidase, that will break down into amino acid. As by the pancreatic juice, it is lipids are converted to the simplest form. There is no any conversion that takes place by the intestinal juice. Then, addition to that, you can find sucrose, that is sucrase, that will convert glucose plus glucose molecule, right? Then galactose, lac lactose, lactase, which is galactose plus glucose. Clear? Did you write all of these? Did you write all of these? Any doubts, any mistake that you made? Anything you wanted to clarify? Right. Okay. So then the next question was, what's the next question? In which organ does the absorption start? So as I told you children, the absorption will start from the small intestine. But mention it as duodenum, in bracket, write it as small intestine. Be specific with your answer. And then remember children, bile is a kind of the juice which is secreted by the which is present in the small intestine, but they are produced and secreted in a different organ, children. Okay, bile is secreted. First of all, they are produced by the pancreatic, by the liver. Not the pancreatic, by the liver. Okay, they are produced by the liver. Okay, this is produced. Okay, then afterwards, this is secreted to the small intestine by another organ, which you called as the gallbladder. So, can you remember in the last class we marked gallbladder? Okay, we marked gallbladder. So, that is from there only bile is secreted. Okay, in liver it is produced, secreted by the gallbladder to the small intestine. Is that clear? Please write that as well in the 15th question as your answer. Write it here, please. So hope you have written that as well. Okay. So now the next topic that to be studied is children. We have to study. Now you know that the digestion stops or the digestion further is taken to the small intestine, and then from the small intestine the digestion will stop. Okay, digestion is completed when it is completing the process through the duodenum, right? Then children, the absorption start. The next part of the definition of digestion begins here. Okay, you know that breaking down the complex substances to the small substances and then convert and then absorption. That absorption part will start from the small intestine. So, now to be absorptive children, they should have certain qualities, or you can tell in other terms as adaptation, right? Now, in order to you be a smart kid, you should have some qualities, right? You have to work on time, you have to be productive, you have to utilize your time well. So those are some adaptation to become a smart kid, right? So likewise, the small intestine also should have certain adaptation to be a good absorptive organ, right? So the structure, or you can tell the adaptations are, the very first adaptation is being long tube. Okay, they should have a long tube. So which means it should be longer. So normally the small intestine is 1.5 meters. So 1.5 meters of a long tube is present inside your stomach. Okay, inside your body it is present, not inside the stomach. The structure around your stomach. Okay, below to your stomach. It is connected. Right. Then children, if they are longer tube, they should have some circular folds. They should have what? Circular folds. So that circular folds are necessary to increase the surface area. Right? So something like this. These are the circular folds. Okay? The circular folds. So that is a second adaptation. Presence of circular folds. Then afterwards, children, they should have a finger-like projection. Okay, like fingers, we have to send all the components through this. They should have a finger-like projection, which you call as the villi. Okay, presence of finger-like projection called villi. Okay. Then as for the fourth one, they should have some microvilli onto the small, onto the the villi. Okay, the finger-like projection. They should be having more small finger-like projection that you call as a microvilli. Okay, so that microvilli also should be present. Presence of microvilli. Then the fifth one is they should be highly vascularized. Highly vascularized means children where they have a good blood circulation in order to send pass all the or to absorb into the blood, there should be a good blood flow. Okay, so therefore they should be highly vascularized. So as for the last one, they should have a thin wall. Thin wall means what? The wall of the tube should be thin. It should not be thick. So if it is thick, the absorption is less. If it is thin, the absorption is high. So did you understand that? So if you wanted to expand this structure, if this is one circular fold, onto the circular fold, children, you can find a finger-like projection that you call as what? That you call as the villi. So when you expand one villi, you can find some more finger-like projection that you call as what? Microvilli. This is microvilli. This is villi. This is the circular fold. Is that clear? Is that clear? Everyone? Oh, right. So now, then children, when the absorption starts, okay, when the absorption starts, some of the components, which means now you studied certain, before that, let's write this down, will you? Please write this down. The all six adaptations. Please write it down here. Right, complete the 14th question. Make it fast, children, so that we can move to the next part. If you are done, let me know. And if possible, draw these pictures as well. Draw these diagrams so that it's clear to you when you revise the lesson. Please draw that. Mention these tubes should be thin walls. They should have thin walls. Mention that as well. Right. So as you all have completed the work, children, let's move to the next part. Right? Okay. So the next thing, children, absorption means Absorption should be absorbed. Like the absorption process is what? The substances, the simplest substances which was digested by the body should be absorbed to the blood in order to gain the nutrients. Right? In order to do all the functions, wherever it wanted to go through the body. So all the nutrients should be absorbed to the blood. But the substances which are the simplest substances which were digested, children, some of them only will get into the blood. Okay, so absorption can take place in two parts, right? One, absorption to the blood, and the other one is absorption to the lacteals. Lacteals are a part of a lymphatic system. There is no blood circulation there, but they are like thin tubes-like structure where they will absorb the fatty acids and the glycerol. Okay, fatty acids and glycerol, they will not be absorbed to the blood. Fatty acids and glycerol will be absorbed to the lacteals. Then the remaining ones will be absorbed to the blood. Okay, what are those? The monosaccharides. What are the monosaccharides that you study? Glucose, galactose and fructose. Normally we don't study that part here, but glucose and galactose you study. So therefore the monosaccharides will be absorbed to the blood. Then after monosaccharides, what else? Amino acid, the structural unit of proteins. Then after amino acids, you have to remember some minerals and vitamins. Finally, the water will be absorbed to the blood. So these components, whatever, now you drink a medicine, okay? The medicine is having a sort of vitamin, okay? It is having vitamin, right? So that vitamin, once it is completed through the, like, when it is traveling through the small intestine, at the end, it will be absorbed to the blood, okay? If you have some sort of, let's imagine, if it is a lipid you ate, right? The absorption, once it is converted to fatty acids and glycerols, it is not going to be absorbed to the blood. It will be absorbed to the lacteal. Okay, lacteal means it is a kind of a lymphatic system. It is not a blood vessel where blood is not going to be the circulatory flow. You know lymphatic system, right? It is a part of that where fatty acids and the glycerol will be absorbed by them. There are also some sort of a tube-like thing where it will absorb the fatty acids and the glycerol, right? So then, children, the absorption of all of these is done except for water and minerals, vitamins. Right, these three parts will be like mostly it will be digested or which will be taking into the blood or to the body function through the large intestine. Here from monosaccharides and amino acid will start to function in your body. But vitamins, minerals and water will enter further to the large intestine. So the absorption of water, vitamins, minerals will take place in the large intestine. Then the next function of this is one function. The next function of large intestine is the formation of feces, the stool, right? The formation of feces will occur. So what is meant by this formation of feces? Now you know that whatever the body wants, the monosaccharides, the amino acid, whatever it wants to the body, the components or the substance which is necessary to the growth of the or to the livelihood of the body, it is absorbed to the blood and even to the lacteals. The remaining, whatever it is not necessary, the undigested, okay, the undigested food, okay, the undigested materials are sent out as the feces, right? Undigested food material are sent out as the feces, which is not necessary for the body. Okay, if it is not necessary for the body, to the like if they don't want it, why do want they have it in the body. It's a wastage. So that waste material is sent to the like it is released as a fecal matter, right? So then remember, this feces is going to contain a sort of a chemical, not a chemical in the sense, not a harsh one, but the waste material, which is the bill pigment. Can you remember bill pigment? It is a wastage, the color which is given out as the fecal matters color, right? So that is because of what? The bill pigment. So that is a waste material that will be sent out through the anus, through the rectum, and finally to the through the anus, right? So the formation of the fecal matter and the absorption of vitamins and water is done in the large intestine. Is that clear? Is that clear to you? Yes. Oh, right. So write that down, and finally, after that, we can study about the diseases associated with the digestive system. Write that down, please. Do question number 16, 17, 18, 19. The last question we will be discussing in a while. Do these, please.
Done, teacher.
Okay. So then, yeah, as you have completed the work, let's move to the next, right? Okay, so let's discuss the work. I'll just first teach you the diseases associated, then at last I'll just discuss all the answers. Right. So children, as for the disease, like which is associated with the digestive system, first, where normally, like I think most of the time where people face this situation, which is constipation, right? So constipation is a situation where actually they can sort out that problem when it is in the initial stage, right? So constipation is what? Now usually if you eat, the waste material should be released from your body, which is the fecal matter, right? So if that is not smooth, right, where you don't, where you struggle to release it, that situation you call as constipation, right? So normally children, where you get this, do like when you observe the causes for this one, for this particular disease is children, where like you having a very low consumption of dairy products, because lactose can make your fecal release smoother, right? Which is not hard solid. Okay, it should be solid but not in a hard way, right? So when you have a low consumption, okay, low consumption of dairy products, that can cause what, constipation. Okay, that can cause uh, like that can cause a kind of what uh, kind of constipation, right? So then children, when you are having less consumption of water, when you don't drink water which is necessary to be observed to your large intestine, okay, so when there is, this is the easiest concept that I can teach you. Listen, when water consumption, water that you drink is less, what is going to happen? It will cause dehydration in your body. Okay, dehydration is a common thing to cause many discomfort in your body. Even if you are having sometimes leg pain, that is a cause of dehydration. So I have faced that situation, like when I was schooling or something like that. I don't drink water at all. I don't even drink water. Okay, even if I take a glass of water, just 2 to 3 sips. That's it. So for the day itself, I would think around 1 glass of 2 glass only water I have drank on those days, right? So I constantly get a leg pain. I don't know why is that, because I did so many testings and everything was done. Where I thought there is a side of cause of a like vitamin deficiency. I thought like, okay, I'm having a vitamin D deficiency, but actually it was not the case. This the reason why I had was dehydration and like a sort of a stress, right? So even very recently I got that. Then only I understood that that is dehydration. So see, dehydration works in different. Even if you are having a headache, it's a cause of. It can be a cause of dehydration. So all the time drink water well. So actually, when water consumption is less, constipation is formed, right? So in the like, you know what is diarrhea, loose motion, right? It is a sort of infection, no children. So when that is present inside your body, when infection is present inside your body in your large intestine, it is going to inhibit the absorption of water, which means water getting absorbed is less into your body. So the water content is higher, which is going to be released out in the through the fecal matter. That is why the stool, the fecal matter is liquid, right? So if you even did not drink water, there is a problem. If you are having an infection, where it is going to inhabit the consumption of water as well. So constipation is a disease where when you have less consumption, when you are lacking of drinking water, it can cause constipation. Then, as I told you, diarrhea is not about when you, I'm not very sure, like, there are so many myths and sort of like old people suggest you so many ideas for diarrhea, but actually it is not the case, children. Diarrhea is it's a kind of infection where it is caused by parasites. Parasites means the worms which is living inside your large intestine. There are certain worms which will be living inside your intestine, like you call it as the tapeworms, right? So those worms can be infected and they are causing you some problem inside your large intestine. Virus also can cause that. Bacteria also can cause. Okay, so then children, as this is caused, what is going to happen? The fluid, the water, what they will do is in the large intestine, they will inhibit the process of absorption of water. Inhibit the process means what? Normally, some amount of water is absorbed to your body. That absorption will be completely stopped. Then, water content inside your stomach is high. Inside your large intestine is high, right? Then, that should be released out. So that will be released in your fecal matter. So that is why you identify your stool to be very liquid form. So that is the reason. That is the idea. You have to drink medicine for that. Okay, so that you will be alright. Then you have something called the typhoid fever, right? Typhoid fever is a kind of a fever that is caused by bacteria. Okay, typhoid fever is caused by what? Bacteria. Then as for the next one, you have to know that gastric. As I always tell you, children, gastric is a disease where you have to consider, right? Drinking just a soft drink or some sort of dairy product, it is not the solution that you give to the disease, right? You have to drink milk of magnesia. So normally, why do you get gastric? One thing, when your hydrochloric acid inside your stomach is highly concentrated. That is because you are postponing your hunger, skipping meals, like you constantly all the time you eat spicy food regularly, so that can cause the concentration, that can increase the concentration of the hydrochloric acid inside your stomach. Then inflammation of the wall of stomach. You know that in the gastric juice there is a component called the hydrochloric acid. So when that is inflamed, children, when it is a kind of damaging is occurring, that can cause gastric, right? So the solution for gastric is drinking a base, having certain bases. Not only drinking, you can have tablets as well. So with that solution, it will be problem solved, or else you will keep on getting it. So remember that this is a solution, like drinking dairy, but drinking cool water. No, that's not the solution that you give. That is a kind of relief that you expect to have, but the solution is not that. Solution is drinking milk of magnesia, or you can go with a kind of medicine to solve that problem, right? So these are the diseases. How many diseases are there? Four diseases: constipation, diarrhea, typhoid fever, and gas. Is that clear? Is that clear? So now start doing the work as well. Start doing this, please. The last question. So inshallah next week we will be starting the next topic for the lesson, which is the respiratory system. Okay. So yeah, I will be sending you the tune by this Wednesday, inshallah. So do it. Once you are done, let me know. Yeah, the respiratory system will be completed within a day because that's not a complex one. Simple. So we can do it within a day. Typhoid is a bacteria. Okay, it's a kind of an infection. Cl part of gastric. Yeah, which means it is an acid. No, when the concentration of the hydrochloric acid increases in your stomach, you can feel a pain. So that feel of pain you call as the gastric. That you get normally when you skip your meals or you eat spicy food, right? So that you get. Uh, okay, I shall check. I'm sorry for the delay because for the last 2 to 3 days I was a bit sick, so I was unable to go through it. I'll check. Okay. Okay, there's a power outage at my place. Okay, I can complete it. So do you want me to on the camera? So if I on the flash is turning off. Okay, you do it, Willow? Children, even constipation, you get it when you have low fiber content. When you don't eat vegetables, greeneries, you find you will be having what constipation. So when you find a suffocated situation like that, so all the time please make sure that you are having a balanced meal. That is necessary. Okay. So have you all completed the work, children? Right. How about the others? Aisha, Zainab. Okay. Right. Okay, children, so it is almost 7 past. Some of you all are having another class. All right. So I'll send you the answers to the group. I'll complete the tute. I'll just type all together and just send it to the group. Then you can go through it and correct it. So now go through the tute from the beginning. If you find any questions, you can ask me now. If you have any questions, let me know. If you understood everything, just let me know that you understood the lesson. You have to constantly revise the lesson. That is highly, you need it for sure. You have to do that for sure, right? Revising the lesson, because this lesson will be done in your past paper class within 2 months. After 2 months you will be studying this lesson back again. You will be revising the lesson in the past paper class. So while you are revising that, I want you to have a better knowledge on the lesson, right? Is that plan clear to you? Go through the lesson and let me know whether you have any doubts to clarify. Okay. How about Aisha? Is that clear to you, dear? Do you have anything to clarify? All right, then. Okay, children. So then, yeah, that's all for the day. Take care. Assalamu alaikum. See you in the next class. Until then, bye. Bye. Good night.